Welcome back to Shadow Park Audiobook channel, where you listen to different interesting werewolf stories. Thanks to my returnee subscribers, and if you're new here, please subscribe, like, comment and share for more stories like this. Let's dive in. Title says Marked by the Unknown Prince. The scent of roses couldn't hide the tension in the air. People whispered, shifting in their seats, eyes darting between the bride and the empty space where the groom should have been. Aria's fingers trembled as she held the bouquet. Her long silver dress shimmered under the flickering chandelier light. She was beautiful, almost too beautiful for the pain that clung to her face. The whispers grew louder. Her groom, Damon Black, the alpha of the most feared pack in the region, was nowhere to be found. Then the doors slammed open. Rain and wind burst into the room, and there he stood, tall, broad-shouldered, dripping with water and rage. Damon's eyes glowed an unnatural gold. His jaw clenched tight. His tuxedo was half torn, as if he'd just fought a war. Everyone froze. "Sorry I'm late," he said, voice dark as thunder. The crowd gasped. Aria's heart skipped. His tone wasn't that of a groom arriving for his wedding. It was a warning. The priest hesitated, stuttering through the vows, but Damon didn't move closer. He just stared at Aria, eyes sharp with something between anger and longing. Aria swallowed hard. "Where were you?" she whispered, voice trembling. He smirked faintly. "Fighting for what's mine." But before she could speak, the chapel doors burst open again. Another man stepped in. Kian Holt, alpha of the rival Bloodfang pack, and Damon's sworn enemy. His presence was chaos wrapped in a smile. He looked directly at Aria, his black hair dripping with rain, his eyes soft but dangerous. "Are you sure about this wedding, Aria?" Kian asked calmly, ignoring the growls from Damon's pack. "Because you don't look sure." The crowd erupted in shock. Damon's growl filled the room. "You dare!" "I dare!" Kian interrupted, stepping forward. "Because she's marked." Gasps filled the air. Damon's face went pale. Aria froze. "What do you mean marked?" she whispered. Kian tilted his head. "Show them, sweetheart." Her hand instinctively rose to her neck. Beneath the makeup, a faint crimson mark glowed, a mark that wasn't supposed to exist. A wolf mark, but not Damon's. The room exploded into chaos. Growls, screams, chairs crashing. Damon's eyes burned gold. "What did you do?" he roared, his voice shaking the floor. Aria stumbled back, terrified. I don't know. I swear I don't." "You're lying," Damon growled, stepping closer, his power radiating like fire. "My mate wouldn't." "She didn't," Kian cut in sharply. "I marked her in her sleep. Because she saved my life." The confession silenced the room. Every werewolf knew what that meant. A mark wasn't just a bond, it was a curse of connection. No magic could undo it. Damon's hands trembled, caught between fury and heartbreak. Aria looked between them, tears falling freely. "Why would you do that?" she whispered to Kian. "Because," he said softly, "the one who saves a wolf must share his fate." The room spun. Damon lunged forward, claws half-formed, but Aria stepped between them, shouting, "Stop!" Her voice cracked through the madness like lightning. For a moment, both alphas froze, their golden eyes locked on her. "I'm not a prize," she screamed. "I didn't ask for any of this." Her words echoed. The wolves hesitated. Then, without warning, Damon turned and stormed out, his pack following. Kian stood still, watching her with something unreadable in his gaze. Outside, the storm raged harder. The wedding was over before it began. Later that night, Aria sat in her mother's old cabin deep in the woods. The rain had stopped, but her heart hadn't. She stared at the faint red glow on her neck in the mirror. The mark pulsed lightly, as if alive. "Why me?" she whispered. "You saved me," a voice said behind her. She spun around. Kian stood at the door, his shirt half unbuttoned, revealing faint claw marks across his chest. His smile was sad. You shouldn't have pulled me out of that river, Aria. You shouldn't have shown up at my wedding, she shot back. Would you rather I let him mark you while you still smelled of my blood? He asked. Her breath hitched. His words were cruel, but his eyes were soft. The kind of soft that made her heart stumble even when she wanted to hate him. You ruined my life, she whispered. He stepped closer. Maybe. Or maybe I saved it. Aria's chest tightened. The air grew thick, electric. Kian's nearness made her pulse race. His scent, pine and danger, wrapped around her like a spell. Stay away from me, she breathed. I can't, he said simply. We're bound now. Whether you want it or not. She wanted to slap him, to scream, to cry. But instead she froze when his hand reached out, brushing a wet strand of hair from her face. It wasn't passion, it was possession. Yet somehow it made her heart tremble. Don't touch me, she said weakly. He smiled, stepping back. You'll say that until you feel it too. Before she could reply, he vanished into the woods, leaving the cabin door swinging open in the wind. Meanwhile, miles away, Damon stood in the ruins of the chapel. His fists bloodied from punching stone. His beta, Marcus, stood silently beside him. She's marked, Damon growled. By him. Marcus nodded slowly. It doesn't change what you feel, Alpha. It changes everything, Damon said darkly. If she's marked by Bloodfang, then she belongs to them. To him. Marcus hesitated. What will you do? Damon's eyes glowed again. I'll burn their pack to ashes. Lightning struck outside as he spoke, splitting a tree in half. The storm wasn't done yet. The next morning, Silverpine woke to chaos. Rumor spread like wildfire. 2 alphas, 1 marked mate, and an ancient law that could tear both packs apart. Aria tried to hide, but the mark burned brighter with every thought of Kian. She walked to the riverbank where she'd once saved him. The water was calm now, the opposite of her heart. Suddenly she felt someone behind her. She didn't have to turn to know who it was. You followed me, she said. Kian chuckled softly. No. The mark did. He turned, glaring. I don't want this. Neither did I, he said gently. But fate doesn't ask. Their eyes locked. For a moment the world fell quiet. Then he said something that shattered her again. Damon declared war. Her knees went weak. What? He blames me for everything, Kian said. And maybe he's right. But if war comes, it won't stop until one of us is dead. Aria's heart pounded. And me. You, Kian said softly. We'll have to choose. The wind blew through her hair as thunder rolled again in the distance. She didn't answer. She couldn't. Because deep down she already knew. No matter who won the war, she'd lose either way. And somewhere, hidden in the shadows, something ancient was watching. Waiting. Smiling. Because this wasn't just a love triangle. It was a curse reborn. Aria stood frozen by the river as thunder rolled across the mountains. Kian's words still echoed in her mind. Asterisk Damon declared war. Asterisk. Her breath hitched as the weight of those words sank in. War between the packs meant blood, fire, and the end of peace in Silverpine. It meant death. Why? She whispered, looking up at him. Why can't you just tell him the truth, that I didn't choose this? Kian's expression softened, but his voice was heavy. Because he wouldn't believe me. Damon doesn't listen when his pride bleeds. Her chest tightened. She wanted to scream, to tear off the mark on her neck. But the faint crimson light pulsed stronger the more she looked at Kian. It was a cruel reminder that she was bound to him by blood and fate. You should leave, she said finally. Go before he finds you. Kian's lips curved into a sad smile. If he wants me, he'll find me. But he won't reach you first. Not while I'm breathing. Before she could respond, he turned and disappeared into the fog. Aria stood there, trembling, watching the mist swallow him whole. She didn't know whether to thank him or hate him. Back at the Blackfang fortress, Damon paced like a caged wolf. His eyes glowed gold, his aura radiating fury. The once calm Alpha now looked like a storm in human form. Marcus, his beta, spoke carefully. Alpha, if you declare war, the council will intervene. Let them, Damon snapped. They didn't stop him from marking what's mine. Marcus hesitated. And Aria? Damon froze, his jaw tight. She'll come back to me. His voice lowered, almost a growl. She has to. But even as he said it, doubt crawled through his chest. The bond he'd shared with her before the wedding, the invisible pull, had gone faint. It was still there but weaker. Replaced by something darker. Something tied to Kian. Aria couldn't sleep that night. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Damon's furious face and Kian's sad smile. She tossed and turned until the moonlight caught something glimmering outside her window. Her heart skipped. Someone was there. She got up slowly, pulling the curtain aside. A wolf stood in the clearing. Massive, black as night, with eyes like molten gold. Damon. She opened the door before thinking. Damon, she whispered. The wolf's eyes narrowed, and then he shifted, bones cracking, for dissolving into skin. In seconds, Damon stood there. Barefoot, shirtless, soaked from the rain. His body was tense, every line of muscle coiled like a threat. You're still wearing it, he said, voice low, gaze fixed on the faint red mark on her neck. It's not what you think, she said quickly. He stepped closer. Then what is it, Aria? Because from where I stand, it looks like my bride carries another man's mark. I didn't ask for it, she shouted. He said I saved his life. He mocked me without asking. That's not possible, Damon growled. A mark can't be made without consent. I didn't, her voice broke. I didn't know what he was doing. He was dying, Damon. I just wanted to help. His chest rose and fell, anger warring with heartbreak. You should have let him die. Tears burned her eyes. You don't mean that. He stared at her for a long moment, then looked away, jaw trembling. Maybe I don't. But I can't think straight when I see his mark on you. Silence hung between them, heavy and sharp. The rain started again, tapping softly on the roof. Damon, she whispered, stepping closer. Please don't do this. Don't start a war because of me. He looked at her, eyes glistening with something like pain. It's already started. Before she could speak, he turned and vanished into the woods, the sound of his shifting echoing in the rain. At dawn, silver pine burned. Smoke rose from the eastern border where the first skirmish had erupted. Wolves clashed in the shadows, fur and claws and blood mixing in the mud. Aria heard the howls from miles away. Her stomach twisted. She ran out of the cabin barefoot, heart pounding. But before she could reach the ridge, a voice stopped her. Running into war won't fix it, Kian said, stepping out from the trees. She glared at him, trembling. He's killing your pack. And yours is killing mine, he said bitterly. That's what war is, Aria. She grabbed his arm. Stop it. End this before more die. He looked down at her hand, then at her face. I can't stop it. Not alone. Then I'll go to Damon. I'll make him stop. Kian's grip tightened on her wrist. He won't listen. Not now. He's blinded by rage, and by what he thinks he lost. Tears filled her eyes. Then what do we do? Kian hesitated. There's a legend. About the marked bond. Aria frowned. What legend? He took a deep breath. It said that when two alphas mark the same heart, the moon goddess herself decides the true mate. But she demands a price. Blood for blood. Her breath caught. You mean, one of us dies, he finished softly. And the survivor keeps the bond. She stumbled back, shaking her head. No, there has to be another way. I wish there was. For a long moment they just stood there, the forest quiet except for the distant howls. Then Aria looked up at him, eyes shining. What if I refuse both of you? Kian smiled sadly. Then the curse consumes you instead. Meanwhile, Damon stood in the ruins of the Bloodfang outpost, surrounded by bodies. His claws dripped crimson. His pack howled victory, but he didn't feel any. Every kill made the emptiness inside him worse. Marcus approached carefully. Alpha, we've taken their eastern border. Good, Damon said flatly. Keep pushing. Don't stop until Kian begs. But what about Aria? Damon's jaw clenched. She made her choice. But deep down he knew she hadn't. He just couldn't bear to face the truth, that he might be the villain in her story. Back at the cabin, Aria packed a small bag. She couldn't stay hidden anymore. If she did nothing, both packs would destroy each other. She strapped on her mother's old dagger and looked at her reflection one last time. The mark glowed faintly, pulsing with every beat of her heart. I'll end this, she whispered. Even if it kills me. The door creaked open behind her. You're brave, Kian said quietly. But bravery can be foolish. She turned to face him. Then be a fool with me. He chuckled, but there was no joy in it. You don't know what you're asking. Yes, I do, she said. Help me stop him. For a long moment he said nothing. Then he nodded. All right. But if we do this, there's no going back. I don't want to go back, she said softly. I just want peace. He looked at her with something unreadable in his eyes. Admiration, maybe even affection. Then we'll fight for it. Together. As they stepped into the woods, the crimson mark on her neck and the golden glow in his eyes pulsed in sync. Somewhere far away, Damon felt the same pulse, and his rage deepened. The war had begun. But fate wasn't done yet. Because in the shadows of the mountain, something ancient stirred, the true source of the mark's power, waiting for the moment when love, hate, and destiny would collide. And that moment was coming fast. The forest burned red under the moonlight. Smoke crawled through the night like a wounded beast, and Aria stood in the middle of it, her heart pounding like the war drums echoing through Silverpine. Aria! Get down! Kian's voice thundered behind her. Before she could turn, an explosion of fire ripped through the trees. The heat bit into her skin, and she fell, covering her head as embers rained down like fireflies. Someone grabbed her wrist, rough, desperate. It was Kian. His shirt was torn, his face streaked with blood and ash. This is madness, Aria gasped. They're burning everything. Kian pulled her behind a fallen tree. His breath came in short bursts. Damon's soldiers attacked at dawn. They're not stopping until every pack that stands with me is gone. Her chest tightened. This is all because of me. Don't you dare, he growled. This is because Damon can't stand losing control. He's trying to make an example of me, of us. The word hit her like lightning. It shouldn't have felt warm in the middle of a war, but it did. The ground shook again. Wolves howled in the distance, the sound carrying rage and sorrow. The war had truly begun. By the time dawn touched the sky, Silverpine looked like a battlefield from an old nightmare. The scent of blood and smoke mixed with the morning dew. Aria walked beside Kian through the ruins of what used to be their home. Houses burned to black skeletons. The river ran dark. Bodies were covered with white cloths. Kian's jaw was tight, his eyes empty. They came for everyone, he muttered. Even the children. Aria touched his arm, hesitant. You can't blame yourself for this. He looked at her then really looked. Can't I? I marked you under my blood, Aria. That mark means everything to Damon. He'll burn the world before letting me keep you. Aria looked away. The mark on her neck still glowed faintly like it was alive. She could feel it pulse whenever Kian was near. It bound them together. It made her his. And yet not. I didn't ask for this, she whispered. I didn't ask to be marked. His voice softened. I know. But fate doesn't ask for permission. She turned toward him. Then maybe I'll fight fate. He gave a sad, almost amused smile. Good. Because I've been fighting it my whole life. Later that day, as the survivors gathered in the ruins of the old pack house, a council meeting began. Aria sat in the corner, silent, watching Kian take the floor. His presence commanded the room even when his voice trembled with grief. We can't win this war by hiding, Kian said. Damon has numbers, yes, but he's ruled by pride. We strike fast, hit his borders, take back what's ours. One of the elders, a woman with silver hair and sharp eyes, spoke up. You speak like a king, Kian. But we have no crown, no seat, and no allies left. Kian met her gaze. Then we'll make our own. Aria stood. What if I can help? Every eye turned to her. She could feel the weight of their stares. Damon. He won't expect me to stand against him. He thinks I'm weak. I can get close, find out his next move. Kian's voice dropped. No. Why not? She shot back. You need information, and I'm the only one who can reach him without getting torn apart. He took a step closer. Because I won't lose you. The room went quiet. Aria's lips trembled, but she stood her ground. You can't keep me caged, Kian. You marked me, but I'm not your prisoner. The silence cracked with tension. Finally Kian turned away. We'll talk later. She clenched her fists. We never do. That night, Aria slipped out under the bleeding moon. The forest whispered around her, alive with danger. Her wolf stirred beneath her skin, eager but afraid. She moved fast, quiet as a shadow, following the old border trail that led toward Damon's lands. But she wasn't alone. She heard him before she saw him. Kian's footsteps, heavy and deliberate. You didn't think I'd let you walk into enemy territory alone, did you? Aria spun, glaring. You can't stop me. No, he said, stepping closer. His voice rough with emotion. But I can go with you. Her heart stuttered. He looked fierce under the moonlight, his eyes glowing like molten gold. The mark on her neck pulsed again, reacting to his nearness. The space between them shrank until she could feel his heat. It wasn't just the mark, it was him. Why do you care so much? She asked softly. He didn't answer at first. His jaw flexed. Because when I thought I lost you last night, I realized something. What? That I'd rather burn with you than live without you. Her breath hitched. For a second the war disappeared. There was only the two of them, two broken souls tied by blood and chaos. Then he stepped back. Let's move. We have to reach the border before sunrise. Aria nodded, trying to steady her heart. They moved together through the dark woods, the bond between them humming like a heartbeat. By dawn, they reached the ridge overlooking Damon's fortress. It was massive, black stone walls rising from the mist, guarded by soldiers in wolf armor. The banners of the Blood Moon pack fluttered red in the cold air. Aria crouched behind a boulder. There it is, she whispered. Damon's throne. Kian's eyes hardened. The heart of his tyranny. They studied the patrols, the towers, the movement of guards. Kian drew a quick map in the dirt. We'll go through the east gate. There's a drain tunnel that leads under the courtyard. We can get close enough to hear his plans. And then we survive. Aria smirked faintly. You make it sound so easy. Kian looked at her. It's not. But you make me want to try. Her heart fluttered before she could stop it. Inside the fortress, the air reeked of iron and incense. Aria's pulse raced as they crept through narrow stone halls. Every sound echoed. Somewhere above, Damon's voice carried a deep, cold tone that sent chills down her spine. He was speaking to someone. Woman. Her voice was soft, dangerous. Are you sure she's with him? The woman asked. Yes, Damon said. The mark doesn't lie. She's bound to him by blood, but I'll use that bond to destroy him. Aria's stomach twisted. Damon knew. Kian grabbed her hand gently. We have to go. But before they could move, a shadow fell across them. Guards. Dozens. Run! Kian shouted. They bolted, sprinting through the corridors as alarms blared. Aria's wolf pushed forward, giving her speed, strength, but not enough. A spear grazed her shoulder, and she stumbled. Kian turned, roaring, shifting into his wolf form mid-stride. His dark fur bristled as he lunged, tearing through the guards. Aria forced herself up, blood running down her arm. Kian! He turned, eyes glowing, wild. Go! I'm not leaving you, she screamed. The ceiling cracked above them. The world roared. Fire fell from the sky. When the smoke cleared, Aria woke to silence. Her head throbbed. She was lying on cold stone, her wrists bound in silver chains. Damon stood before her, tall and calm, dressed in black. Welcome home, my dear, he said. Aria's breath caught. Where's Kian? Damon smiled. Alive for now. But tell me, did you really think you could betray me and run off with my brother? Her heart stopped. Brother. Yes. Damon's eyes gleamed red. Did he never tell you? The truth hit her like a storm. Everything, every lie, every look, suddenly made sense. She had fallen in love with her enemy's brother. Damon leaned closer. Now you'll help me destroy him. Or I'll finish what he started. And mark you myself. Aria's pulse pounded. The mark on her neck burned like fire. Tears stung her eyes, but she lifted her chin. You can chain me, she whispered. But you'll never own me. Damon chuckled darkly. We'll see. The chains burned hotter than fire, biting into Aria's skin every time she moved. Silver smoke curled from her wrists as the magic drained her strength, but her eyes, those fierce, stormy eyes, never looked away from Damon. He stood before her like a king carved from shadows. His black coat shimmered in the torchlight, his crimson eyes glinting with cruel amusement. Still defiant, he murmured. I almost admire that. Aria's voice was hoarse. You should be afraid of it. Damon smirked. Afraid. My dear, fear is for those who have something to lose. I lost everything the day my brother was born. Kian. The name burned in her heart. She could still hear his voice echoing through the ruins. His promise to protect her no matter the cost. Now he was gone, trapped, or worse, and she was here, a prisoner of the man who wanted him dead. What do you want from me? She asked. Damon circled her slowly, his boots clicking against the stone. Information. Loyalty. Maybe even understanding. Understanding, she spat. After you burned my home to ashes. He stopped behind her. You think you know me, little wolf, but you don't. You think Kian's the hero of this story. His voice dropped to a whisper near her ear. He's not. Aria jerked against the chains, but they held fast. You're lying. Am I? Damon walked around to face her again. Did he tell you why our packs fell apart? Why I became the alpha of Blood Moon while he was cast out? Aria frowned. He said you were cruel. Power-hungry. Damon laughed, a deep, bitter sound. That's his version. The truth is simpler. Our father chose me as heir. Kian couldn't accept it. He challenged me, and lost. But instead of killing him, I let him live. I thought I was being merciful. Instead, he built an army to destroy me. Aria's heart twisted. She didn't want to believe him, but his voice carried the weight of something real. Even if that's true, she said quietly, you chose to become the monster he warned me about. Damon tilted his head. And yet you came to me. That was before I knew what you were. His smile vanished. He leaned closer, his eyes glinting like coals. You have no idea what I am. Hours passed in silence. Damon left her in the cell, guarded by two wolves in black armor. The air was heavy with tension and smoke. Aria tried to sleep, but her thoughts wouldn't stop spinning. Was Kian alive? Was he coming for her? Or had Damon's soldiers finished what they started? Her mark pulsed faintly under her skin, warm and restless. It was tied to Kian's blood. As long as it still glowed, he was alive. Somewhere out there, he was fighting to reach her. She closed her eyes, whispering into the darkness. Find me, Kian. Please. Far from the fortress, deep within the ruins of Silverpine, Kian stirred awake with a groan. Every bone in his body ached, but the mark on his chest burned like wildfire. Aria, he rasped. He sat up, surrounded by smoke and debris. The night was silent except for the crackle of dying flames. His wolf snarled inside him, desperate, restless. He knew what that pain meant. She was alive, but in danger. Kian clenched his fists. Hold on, Aria. I'm coming. Back in the fortress, the cell door creaked open. Aria tensed, expecting Damon, but it wasn't him. It was the woman she'd heard before. The one with the soft, dangerous voice. She stepped inside, her beauty sharp as glass. Dark hair, silver eyes, a scar curling across her cheek. She carried a dagger at her hip and a cold smile. So, you're the infamous Aria, the woman said. The girl who made both brothers lose their minds. Aria frowned. And you are? Lyra, she said simply. Damon's right hand. And once upon a time, Kian's lover. The word struck like lightning. Aria's stomach twisted. You're lying. Lyra chuckled. Oh no. He loved me once. Until he found something better to love. Her gaze flicked to Aria's glowing mark. You. I didn't ask for this. No one ever does, Lyra said, stepping closer. You think love is a blessing. It's a curse. Especially when it comes from a wolf with a broken soul. Aria glared. You don't know him anymore. Lyra's smile turned sharp. I know enough. And if I were you, I'd start praying. Because when Damon's done with you, that mark of yours will be nothing but ashes. She turned to leave, but Aria called after her. Wait, why are you helping him? He'll destroy you too. Lyra paused at the door. Maybe. But destruction is all I have left. Then she was gone. Night fell again, and with it came a storm. Thunder shook the fortress walls. Aria pulled against her chains until her wrists bled. She could feel Kian's heartbeat through the bond, closer now, like a drumbeat in her veins. Suddenly the door burst open. A guard stumbled in, clutching his throat before collapsing to the floor. Behind him, Kian. He was covered in blood and rain, his eyes burning gold. Aria! Tears flooded her eyes. Kian! He tore through the silver chains with brute strength, ignoring the smoke that seared his skin. When her hands were free, she threw herself into his arms. For a second the world stopped spinning. There was only warmth. Safety. You're insane, she whispered against his chest. I told you I'd come, he said hoarsely. You really thought I'd let him keep you? She pulled back, looking up at him. Damon, he's not just your enemy. He's your brother. Kian froze. The words hit like a blade. He told you. He said you challenged him for power. Kian's jaw tightened. He left out the part where he murdered our father. Aria gasped. What? That's why I challenged him. To stop him. He lied, said I wanted the throne. But I wanted justice. His eyes burned with fury. He killed everyone who stood in his way and blamed me. Aria's breath caught. The pain in his voice was raw and real. Kian. Before she could say more, footsteps echoed down the hall. Damon's voice followed, cold and calm. So, the prodigal brother returns. Kian pushed Aria behind him, growling low. This ends tonight. Damon stepped out of the shadows, sword in hand, his crimson eyes gleaming. You should have stayed buried, brother. Lightning flashed. The brothers lunged. The clash was thunder. Steel met steel, claws met fire. Damon moved with precision, Kian with fury. Sparks flew as they fought, their roars shaking the walls. Aria could only watch, torn between fear and love, between two wolves who shared the same blood but opposite souls. Everything you touch dies, Kian. Damon shouted, slashing across his chest. You'll destroy her too. She's not yours to destroy. Kian roared back, striking hard enough to crack Damon's armor. Damon staggered, then smiled through blood. You think she'll love you after this? After she learns what you are? What I am? A curse. Damon's voice dropped to a hiss. You think that mark binds her to you? It's killing her. Aria froze. What? Damon's eyes met hers. You felt it, the burning, the ache. Every time you're apart, it drains you. You think it's love. It's poison. Kian turned to her, eyes wide. He's lying. But Aria's knees buckled. Pain seared through her chest, and she gasped, clutching the mark on her neck. It was glowing brighter, pulsing wild and hot. Kian, what's happening to me? Damon laughed. Your bond was forged in blood, not fate. Every drop he sheds feeds the mark. Every wound he takes you feel. And when he dies, so do you. No. Kian shouted, lunging again. I'll end this. They clashed once more, fury against fire, love against hate. The mark on Aria's skin blazed like the sun. She screamed as the pain tore through her body. The room shook, the torches exploded, and for a moment, everything went white. When the light faded, the fortress was silent. Smoke filled the air. Damon lay on the floor, blood pooling beneath him. Kian knelt beside Aria, holding her limp body in his arms. Aria, stay with me, he whispered. Please. Her eyelids fluttered. Kian. He held her tighter. I'm here. You're safe. She smiled faintly, tears mixing with blood. You're wrong, you know. About what? Fate doesn't ask permission. Then her eyes closed and the mark on her neck flickered. Once, twice, and went dark. Kian froze. No. No. He shook her, his voice breaking. Aria. But the bond had gone silent. Damon's weak laughter filled the air. Now you understand, brother. Love is the real curse. Kian turned to him, his golden eyes turning black with rage. You took everything from me. Damon coughed, smiling faintly even as blood spilled from his mouth. Then finish it. Kian stood trembling. The storm outside screamed through the broken walls. I already have. With one swift motion he struck, and Damon fell still. The rain poured harder as Kian carried Aria's body out of the fortress. Lightning lit the sky, casting their shadows across the mountains. He laid her down beneath an ancient tree, where the first rays of dawn broke through the clouds. "Come back," he whispered. "Please." The mark on his chest flickered weakly. He placed his hand over hers, his tears falling onto her skin. "Take my strength. Take everything. Just come back to me." The wind stirred. The air shimmered faintly. Then her fingers moved. The first sign of life was her breath, shallow but real. Kian froze, afraid to believe what his eyes were seeing. The rain fell softer now, washing the blood from her face as her lips parted. "Aria," he whispered, voice cracking. "Please say something." Her eyes fluttered open, hazy but bright, like dawn breaking after a storm. "Kian." He exhaled, laughter and tears mixing as he pulled her into his arms. "You came back to me." Her fingers gripped his shirt weakly. "I told you, fate doesn't ask permission." He held her tighter, shaking with relief. "You scared me. You needed scaring." Despite the pain, a small laugh escaped him. The moment felt unreal, fragile like it could shatter if he let go. But then her eyes flicked toward the sky, and the smile faded. "What happened?" she asked, her voice faint. "Where's Damon?" Kian hesitated. The rain fell heavier again, as if the world mourned the answer. "He's gone," he said quietly. "It's over." Aria looked at him for a long moment. "No," she whispered. "It's never over." They buried Damon at dawn beneath the blackened soil of the mountains. No ceremony, no words, just silence. Kian stood over the grave, drenched in rain. His thoughts a storm of guilt and rage. Aria watched him from a distance, her hand pressed to her still-fading mark. Every beat of her heart echoed with pain. The bond between them felt different now, weaker but darker, as if something inside her had changed when she came back. When Kian returned to her, his eyes looked haunted. "We need to leave this place. Damon's loyalists won't stop coming." "Where will we go?" she asked. "Shadow Ridge. It's neutral ground. No pack dares cross it." Aria nodded, though unease tugged at her chest. Something in the air felt wrong, like unseen eyes were watching them from the trees. The journey to Shadow Ridge took 2 days. The forest seemed endless, whispering secrets as they passed. Kian moved like a man driven by ghosts. Aria followed in silence, torn between love and fear, not of him, but of what he was becoming. At night, when they stopped by the fire, she noticed the mark on his chest glowing faintly, darker now, almost black. "Kian," she said one night, her voice trembling. "Your mark. It's changing." He glanced down, frowning. "It's probably the bond. You were gone, maybe it's healing." "No," she whispered. "It feels colder." He met her eyes, confusion flickering in his gaze. "Colder. Like it's not just our bond anymore. Like something else is inside it." Before he could answer, the fire hissed, the flames turning blue for a split second before dying out completely. They were plunged into darkness. A low growl echoed from the trees. Then another. And another. Wolves, dozens of them, their eyes glowing red in the shadows. "Damon's pack," Kian said, his voice low and steady. "They found us." Aria's heart pounded. "But he's dead. Someone else took his place." The wolves stepped into the clearing, forming a circle around them. At the front stood a tall figure in armor, a woman, her eyes gleaming silver under the moonlight. "Lyra." "Well," she said, smirking. "If it isn't my favorite corpse." Kian's jaw tightened. "Lyra. You killed him," she said calmly. "My alpha. My love. Did you really think I'd let that go unpunished? He destroyed everything. You know what he was." Her smile vanished. "He was mine. And you took him from me." Aria stepped forward, her voice trembling. "Lyra, please." "Don't," Lyra snapped. "Ooh. You're the reason they turned on each other." "I didn't mean to." "Meaning doesn't matter. Blood does." She raised her hand, and the wolves closed in. Kian growled, shifting in a blur of motion, his dark fur shimmering with rain. Aria's wolf fought to surface, but the mark burned, holding her back. "Kian," she cried. He tore through the first wave, claws flashing, eyes wild with fury. But there were too many. Lyra's wolves surrounded him, their teeth sinking deep. Aria screamed, fighting against the mark's power until she finally broke free. her own wolf exploding through her skin in a burst of silver light. She leaped, tearing into the circle, her fangs meeting flesh. For a moment she and Kian fought as one, unstoppable, perfect. Blood and moonlight danced around them. But then Lyra struck. She moved faster than sight, her blade sinking into Kian's side. His roar split the night. "Kian!" Aria's voice was raw as she lunged for Lyra, but the woman vanished into the mist. The wolves retreated as fast as they'd come, leaving silence and blood in their wake. Aria dropped beside Kian, pressing her hands to the wound. "Stay with me, please." He winced, breathing hard. "I'm fine. I've had worse." "You're lying." He gave a weak grin. "Yeah, I am." The wound smoked where the blade had struck. "Silver. Isn't." "No, no, no," Aria whispered. "You can't." He reached up, touching her cheek. "Listen. If this is the end, don't you dare. Then you need to know the truth." "What truth?" His voice dropped to a whisper. "When I marked you, I didn't just bind you to me. I bound you to the bloodline. I don't understand. It wasn't supposed to be permanent. But the night I did it, Damon's blood was in the air. Our bond fused with his. That's why your mark burns. That's why it changed." Aria's eyes widened. "You mean?" "He's still here," Kian said. "Part of him." She shook her head. "No. I saw him die." Kian's gaze darkened. "Some blood never dies." They reached Shadow Ridge by dawn, barely. The valley stretched wide, filled with mist and silence. Old ruins dotted the cliffs, remnants of a forgotten pack. Kian collapsed at the edge of the ridge, his breathing shallow. Aria dragged him beneath an archway, shielding him from the cold. "Stay awake," she pleaded. "Please." He smiled faintly, bossy as ever. "Don't joke." He reached up, brushing her hair back. "You're beautiful when you're angry." Her eyes filled with tears. "Don't you dare make this the last thing you say to me." But his hand fell limp. "No," Aria shouted, shaking him. "You promised me. You said fate didn't ask permission." The mark on her neck flared bright, too bright. Pain lanced through her, but she refused to let go. Her tears hit his chest, glowing where they fell. The bond shimmered, light wrapping around both of them. In darkness. When she woke, she was somewhere else. The air was cold and still. The moon hung low, bathing everything in silver. She stood in a vast field surrounded by shadows, and in front of her stood Damon. Alive. Or something that looked like him. His eyes were darker, emptier. His body flickered like smoke given form. "Miss me?" he asked, smiling coldly. Aria stepped back. "You're dead." "Am I?" He spread his arms. "You brought me here." "No." "Yes." His gaze drifted to the glowing mark on her neck. "That bond tied our souls together. You can't escape me, Aria. Not even in death." Her breath caught. "What do you want?" "Balance," he said simply. Kian broke the laws of blood. Now someone must pay. She shook her head. "I won't let you hurt him again. You can't stop me. You never could." He vanished, and suddenly she was falling, screaming as shadows swallowed her whole. Aria woke gasping, back in the ruins. The air was thick with mist. Kian was gone. "No!" She stumbled to her feet. "Kian!" Her voice echoed across the valley, but there was no answer. The mark on her neck pulsed once, faint like a dying heartbeat. Then she heard it. A voice, soft and familiar, carried on the wind. "Aria!" She turned toward the sound and froze. Kian stood at the edge of the cliff, his eyes glowing red. Not gold. Red. Damon's color. Her breath stopped. "Kian!" He smiled, but it wasn't his smile. It was Damon's. "Hello, my love," he said. The red moon bled over Silver Pine like a wounded heart. The world was caught between two alphas, brothers divided by power, bound by blood and cursed by fate. Aria stood in the center, her hair whipping in the stormy wind, her eyes glowing faint silver. The air pulsed with magic so old it made the ground tremble. "Aria!" Kian's voice cracked. "Come to me." But Damon took a step forward, his jaw set, his eyes dark as thunder. "Don't move, Aria. You do, and he'll destroy you." The tension was thick enough to choke on. Behind them, warriors growled, claws and fangs flashing in the crimson light. Lightning cracked, and the smell of blood and rain filled the air. Aria's voice was calm but shaking. "You two are going to tear this world apart because of me." Kian's eyes softened. "Not because of you, because of what they did to us. You are the key to everything, Aria. You were never just a girl. They made you the bridge between the packs." Damon growled. "Stop lying to her." He turned to Aria. "He's twisting the truth. Our parents didn't just want peace, they wanted power. They marked you before you were even born. That's why you're different. Why your blood burns brighter than the moon." Aria blinked, shaking her head. "Marked? Before I was even, what does that mean?" Kian's gaze turned haunted. "It means you were chosen by fate itself. You carry both our bloodlines, Aria. You're the alpha of alphas." The world seemed to spin. "No," she whispered. "That's impossible." But the moon pulsed, as if answering her denial. The mark on her neck flared, veins glowing silver and red. Pain shot through her, and she fell to her knees. Kian and Damon both rushed to her side, but when they touched her, a wave of energy exploded from her body and threw them apart. "Don't touch me," Aria gasped, clutching her chest. "It hurts." Her scream echoed across the forest. The trees bent, the ground cracked, and ancient runes lit up under her feet. The prophecy was unfolding, and she was at the heart of it. When Aria woke again, she was in a dark chamber lit by flickering blue fire. Damon sat beside her, shirt torn, a cut bleeding on his cheek. His eyes were softer now, the anger replaced by worry. "You scared the hell out of me," he muttered, brushing dirt from her face. She blinked slowly. "What happened?" "You passed out." The mark reacted to the moon. He sighed, leaning back. "You're changing, Aria. The bond between you and us, it's growing stronger." Aria's throat went dry. "Us." Kian's voice came from the shadows. "He's right." He stepped into the light, face pale but determined. "The mark connects us now. What you feel, we feel." Her eyes widened. "You mean?" "Yes," Damon said, smirking slightly. "Every heartbeat, every breath." Aria looked between them, confusion and fear mixing with something she couldn't name. Her pulse raced, and both men tensed at the same time. "See," Kian whispered. "We're bound." She turned away, trembling. "This isn't fair. I didn't choose this." "No one ever does," Damon said quietly. "But maybe this time fate made the right mistake." Their eyes met, two flames that shouldn't exist in the same world, and for a moment everything stopped. Then from above, a loud howl split the night. The fortress shook. "They've found us," Kian said sharply. "The Shadow Pack," Damon cursed. "They moved faster than I thought." He looked at Aria. "Can you run?" Aria stood shakily. "I can fight." He grinned. "That's my girl." Kian growled. "She's not yours." But Aria ignored them both. The moment she stepped outside, she saw the valley swarming with wolves cloaked in dark mist. Their eyes glowed violet, the mark of the Shadow Pack. "Pack of ghosts. Pack of vengeance." "Stay behind me," Damon ordered. "No," Aria said, her voice suddenly steady. "They came for me. I'll end this." Her body began to glow, the silver veins spreading across her skin like lightning. The red moon flared brighter, and the shadow wolves hesitated. Aria raised her hands, and the air split open. A wall of energy burst forth, knocking the attackers backward. Kian stared. You just used the Alpha's call." "That's impossible," Damon said. "No one can summon that without years of training." Aria's eyes shone. "Then maybe I'm not like anyone else." The battle roared. Wolves clashed, magic flared, and screams filled the night. Aria moved like light and shadow combined, her every strike guided by something ancient and powerful. When it was over, the valley was silent again. Bodies lay scattered, and the air smelled of smoke and sorrow. Kian stepped closer, his voice soft. You saved us. Aria looked at her hands. Or doomed us. Damon frowned. What are you talking about? She looked up, eyes glowing. When I used the Alpha's call, I heard a voice. It said the bond isn't done. That to truly claim my power, one of you must die. Both brothers froze. The wind howled through the ruins, and the red moon bled brighter. The night trembled under the red moon. The silence that followed Aria's words was louder than any scream. The prophecy had been spoken. One of them had to die. Kian's chest rose and fell heavily, his eyes flicking between Damon and Aria. You can't believe that, he said, voice raw. There has to be another way. Damon stepped forward, his expression unreadable. Prophecies don't lie, brother. But they can be cheated. Aria stood between them, torn by fear and fury. No one is dying because of me. Because of you. Kian snapped. Aria, you are the key. You hold the blood of both our lines. This was always about you. Damon's tone darkened. Enough. Blaming her won't save us. He turned to the horizon, where thunder rolled and the scent of smoke carried on the wind. They're coming. The shadow pack won't wait for us to solve our problems. Aria's gaze followed his. The valley below burned with fire and war cries. Wolves from both packs clashed, the red moon shining like an omen of doom. Go, she said softly. Both of you. Kian frowned. What about you? Aria looked at them, her voice steady though her heart trembled. I'll do what I was born to do. The battlefield was chaos. Silver fur clashed with black, claws slashing, teeth sinking, the ground slick with blood. Aria ran through the fire, her power glowing around her like armor. Every scream cut through her soul, every drop of blood a reminder that she was at the center of it all. She found the Shadow Alpha in the middle of the storm. His eyes burned violet, his voice like thunder. The moon's chosen, he sneered. The cursed girl. I'm not cursed, she said, her voice shaking the air. I'm chosen to end this. The Shadow Alpha laughed. Then end it. He lunged, claws out, but Aria met him with power that ripped through the ground. Light exploded. The blast sent wolves flying. When the dust settled, the Shadow Alpha was on his knees, eyes wide with disbelief. Aria stood over him, trembling, her eyes glowing like two moons. No more war. With one strike of light it was done. But as his body hit the ground, a wave of dark energy erupted. It surged toward Kian and Damon, throwing them apart again. The ground split open, and a portal of fire and mist tore the battlefield in half. Aria screamed, reaching for them, but Damon vanished into the flame, and Kian fell backward into the shadows. The world went dark. When Aria opened her eyes, she was surrounded by cold stone. The fortress was gone. The battlefield was silent. She stood in an ancient temple she'd never seen before, symbols glowing faintly on the walls. Kian, she whispered. Damon. Her voice echoed back at her, lonely and afraid. A whisper answered. You brought balance, but you broke fate. Aria spun around. A figure stepped from the shadows, a woman cloaked in silver mist, her eyes glowing gold. Who are you? I am the Oracle, the woman said. The one who wrote your destiny. Aria's fists clenched. Then change it. The Oracle smiled sadly. It cannot be changed, but it can be rewritten with sacrifice. Aria's breath caught. Sacrifice. One heart must die so the world may live. Tears stung her eyes. You're asking me to kill one of them. The Oracle nodded. Or yourself. The ground trembled again, and the temple walls flickered. Two portals opened, one filled with light, the other with shadow. Through the first, Aria saw Kian kneeling in a forest, wounded and calling her name. Through the second, Damon stood before an army of darkness, his eyes wild with pain and defiance. The Oracle's voice echoed. Choose. Aria screamed. No, I can't. The Oracle raised a hand. Fate will choose if you don't. The light and shadow began to twist toward each other, merging into a spiral of power that threatened to tear the temple apart. Aria dropped to her knees, clutching her head, memories flooding through her. The laughs, the kisses, the betrayals, the battles. Everything she'd loved and lost. And then she heard their voices. Aria! Kian's voice, warm and desperate. Aria! Damon's, sharp and broken. Her tears fell like rain. I love you both. The oracle's tone softened. Love is not meant to be divided. It's meant to be tested. The spiral grew brighter, faster, louder. Aria rose slowly, her eyes blazing. Then test me. With a scream that shook the temple, she reached toward both portals. Light and shadow collided, wrapping around her body. Pain tore through her, but she didn't stop. She poured her power into the storm, binding both energies together. The oracle's voice broke through the chaos. You cannot hold them both. Aria smiled through the agony. Watch me. Light exploded. When the dust settled, Aria lay on the cold floor, breathing shallowly. The portals were gone. The temple was cracked and silent. For a moment she thought she was alone. Then she heard footsteps. Kian emerged from the shadows, bleeding but alive. Damon followed, half-burned but breathing. They looked at each other, stunned. You, Damon started. She, Kian choked. Aria sat up weakly. You're both here. I brought you back. Damon knelt beside her. What did you do? I broke the prophecy, she whispered. Now fate owes me a debt. The oracle appeared again, fading into mist. You changed the path but not the cost. The mark will demand payment. Aria frowned. What cost? The oracle's eyes dimmed. Your heart will choose soon enough. She vanished, leaving only silence. Kian reached for Aria's hand, but Damon caught it first. The two brothers glared at each other, the air between them thick with old hatred and new pain. Aria looked from one to the other, her voice trembling. I won't let either of you die. Not now. Not ever. But deep inside she felt it, the faint burn of the mark beneath her skin, pulsing in rhythm with two hearts instead of one. Outside, the red moon began to fade, turning pale silver. But peace had never been more fragile. The moon's red light faded to a ghostly silver, washing over the ruins of the temple. The battlefield was quiet now, but Aria's heart wasn't. It beat too fast, too hard, pulsing in rhythm with two others. One light, one dark. The prophecy was broken, yet its echo still lingered in her blood. Kian stood beside her, his arm around her shoulders, protective as ever. Damon lingered a few steps behind, watching in silence, his expression unreadable. The oracle's words still haunted the air. The mark will demand payment. Aria's voice was low. I don't feel free. I feel borrowed. Kian frowned. You broke the curse, Aria. You saved us. Damon stepped closer, his tone sharp but quiet. She bent fate, not ended it. The oracle doesn't bluff. Enough, Kian snapped. You think fear will fix anything. Damon smirked. No, but denial never does either. Aria sighed, her voice trembling. Stop, please. I can't. She grabbed her chest as the mark on her neck flared again, veins of silver and crimson lighting her skin. The ground pulsed beneath her feet. Kian caught her before she fell. It's happening again. Damon's eyes widened. No, this is different. Look. From the cracks in the temple floor, glowing roots began to crawl, spreading like veins of light. The air shimmered, and an ancient whisper rose from the stones. The heart that binds must bleed to balance. Aria gasped. It wants more. Kian looked around wildly. Who's speaking? The heart of the moon, Damon said quietly. The source of the prophecy. The voice grew louder, echoing from everywhere and nowhere at once. The mark unites love and war, but only one truth can remain. The heart that loves both shall shatter. Aria's eyes widened. It's talking about me. Kian held her tighter. No one's taking you, Aria. Not prophecy, not magic. Damon's expression softened. Sometimes, brother, love is a curse. Lightning cracked through the temple roof. The roots glowed brighter, wrapping around Aria's legs. Her body lifted from the ground as if pulled by invisible threads. She screamed, the sound raw and powerful. The brothers leapt forward, grabbing her hands, but the magic burned them both away. Aria floated above them, eyes glowing white. Her voice wasn't her own. The heart demands balance. Then she vanished. When Aria woke, she was lying in a meadow under the dawn sky. Her body ached, her skin still glowing faintly. She sat up slowly, and the world spun. She wasn't in Silverpine anymore. The air smelled of roses and rain. A voice whispered her name. Aria! He turned. A woman stood beside a river, her reflection shimmering like light itself. She had Aria's eyes, silver and sad. Who are you? Aria whispered. I am what remains of the first moon Alpha, the woman said softly. The one who carried the first mark. Aria's heart pounded. You created this curse. The woman nodded. To protect love. To test loyalty. But we forgot that love, when divided, destroys. Tears stung Aria's eyes. I didn't ask for any of this. The moon Alpha smiled faintly. No one ever does. But you have something no one else did, choice. Aria frowned. Choice. You can choose which bond lives, Kian or Damon. The mark can't hold both. Her throat closed. You're asking me to kill one of them. I'm asking you to save the world, the woman whispered. If you refuse, the mark will burn through every pack, every alpha, until only ash remains. Aria's knees gave out. I can't. The woman stepped closer, touching her face gently. Then the mark will choose for you. Light flared, and Aria was gone. She reappeared in the Silverpine forest. Kian was there, his hands covered in blood, shouting her name. Damon stood across from him, sword drawn, his eyes burning with fury. You took her, Kian roared. Damon snarled. She vanished because of you. Enough. Aria's voice boomed through the clearing. The trees shuddered as she stepped into the moonlight, her mark blazing. This ends now. Both men froze. She looked between them, heart aching. The mark demands one of you. But I won't choose. I'll carry both if I must. Damon shook his head. You'll die. Kian's voice broke. Then let me take it for you. No. Aria screamed, tears spilling. You think your death would save me? It would destroy me. The ground split. Magic surged upward, forming a glowing circle around them. The heart of the moon pulsed above, brighter than ever. Damon stepped into the light. If someone has to pay, it's me. Kian growled. Don't you dare. Damon smirked faintly. Relax, brother. For once, I'm doing something right. He reached for Aria, cupping her face gently. You changed me, Aria. You made me feel human again. Her tears fell harder. Don't do this. I have to, he whispered. Tell him, he was always my brother. Then he turned toward the light and stepped into it. Kian shouted, running forward, but Aria grabbed his arm. The explosion of light threw them both backward. When it faded, Damon was gone. The mark on Aria's neck turned dark crimson, and a single tear of blood slid down her cheek. She fell to her knees, silent. Kian dropped beside her, pulling her close. Aria, look at me. Her voice was hollow. He's gone. The forest was silent again, the moon pale and cold. But as Kian held her, something flickered in the distance. A shadow in the light, watching. Damon's voice echoed faintly in the wind. Fate never ends. It just changes its form. The night was chaos. Fire burned across the field, the smell of blood and smoke thick in the air. Aria's mark glowed like molten silver, brighter than the moon, brighter than anything mortal. Kian's body lay motionless in the dirt, his blood dark against the flames. Damon stood before her, shirt torn, eyes burning with rage and something else, heartbreak. The war that had been whispered about for centuries had begun. "It's too late," Damon said, voice shaking with anger. "The packs have turned. They've chosen sides." Aria took a trembling step forward. "Then we end it. Tonight." Her voice was different now. Colder, heavier, like she carried the voice of the moon itself. Lightning cracked through the sky as wolves clashed below the hill. Every growl was followed by a scream, every heartbeat drowned in the sound of war. Aria could feel every pain, every death. The mark connected her to all of them. She could taste their blood in her mouth, hear their fear in her heart. Damon turned to her, desperation replacing fury. "You're killing yourself. The mark isn't meant to hold this power." "Maybe not," Aria said softly, eyes glowing silver. "But maybe I was." She lifted her hand, and the flames bent to her will. Fire turned white, circling her in a storm. The wolves paused in awe and terror. Damon stared, torn between fear and something else he couldn't hide anymore. "Love. Don't do this," he whispered. "Not like this. You'll burn the world." "Then let it burn," Aria said. "It already took everything from me." Her voice cracked, and for a second, Damon saw the girl she used to be. The one who laughed under the full moon, who believed in peace, who believed in love. But that girl was gone, replaced by something ancient, divine, and dangerous. Then the ground split open. From beneath the battlefield, a surge of dark magic erupted. Shadows like snakes wrapping around her legs. Aria screamed as the power of the first mark tried to consume her. Damon ran to her, ignoring the flames. He grabbed her hand. The instant he touched her, pain exploded through both of them. Their marks connected. His red, hers silver, merging, twisting, burning into one. A mark neither of them had ever seen before. "Damon!" Aria whispered, tears streaming down her face. "It's killing us." "Then we die together," he said, gripping her tighter. "For once we choose." The mark pulsed, and suddenly the war below froze. Every wolf turned their eyes to the two of them as light erupted from the hill. The fire vanished. The shadows screamed. For a moment there was peace, and then the world exploded in silence. When Aria opened her eyes, everything was quiet. She was lying on damp ground, the smell of rain replacing smoke. Damon was beside her, alive, barely. His skin was pale, his breath shallow, but he was alive. The mark on his neck now mirrored hers, silver and red intertwined. "It's done," Aria whispered. "The curse, it's broken." Damon smiled weakly. "You broke the curse, Aria. But what did it cost us?" Before she could answer, the sound of footsteps echoed. A shadow stepped out from behind the trees, tall, cloaked, eyes glowing gold. Aria froze. It was Kian, alive. But not the Kian she remembered. His voice was calm, too calm. "You thought killing me would end it. But you only opened the door." He raised his hand, and the ground trembled. "The true war hasn't even begun." Aria's mark flared again, reacting to his presence. She tried to move, but her strength was gone. Damon staggered to his feet, blood on his lips. "What are you?" he rasped. "I'm what you made me," Kian said. "The mark didn't die with me, it evolved." His smile was cruel, his aura darker than any moonlight. "You took my heart, Aria. Now I'll take your world." Lightning struck again, splitting the trees behind him. The smell of storm filled the air. Aria and Damon stood side by side, marked by fate, their hands trembling but united. "Then come and take it," Aria said, her voice breaking but steady. The silver mark on her neck began to pulse again, answering Kian's golden one in the distance. The air between them crackled with the power of gods and monsters. The world was shifting. The marks were awakening. And in that moment, every wolf in the realm felt it, the calm before the final war. As thunder rolled across the sky, Aria whispered, "This isn't the end." Damon's hand found hers, warm despite the cold. No, he said softly. It's just the beginning of something much worse. Far above them the moon turned black. The moon was black, a shadow against the sky. Every wolf in the realm fell silent, sensing what was coming. The world felt heavy, waiting. The battle had ended, but the war was not over. Aria stood at the edge of the ruined field, her silver mark still glowing faintly. Damon stood beside her, leaning on his sword, his breath shallow. Kian watched from across the valley, golden light circling him like a god reborn. It's over, Aria whispered, though her voice sounded unsure. It has to be. Damon shook his head weakly. He's not done. That light. It's the mark of the first blood. Kian smiled faintly, stepping forward. The ground under his feet burned gold. For centuries, our kind has lived under the curse of the moon. But tonight I'll end it, by ending you. Aria's mark flared in answer. You don't have to do this. We can fix it together. Fix it. Kian's voice rose, echoing. You chose him over me. You burned me alive. You broke the bond that made us whole. His words struck like blades. I died for you, Aria. And now you'll live for me. The wind picked up, howling like the spirits of fallen wolves. Damon stepped in front of her, growling low. You'll have to kill me first. Kian's eyes darkened. Then die again. Lightning struck between them, exploding in fire. Damon lunged, claws out, but Kian met him with impossible strength. Every punch echoed across the mountains, shaking the ground. Aria tried to reach them, but her legs gave out. Her mark burned like fire in her veins. She fell to her knees, clutching her chest. Inside her head she heard a voice, soft, ancient and familiar. The mark can only belong to one. It was the moon goddess. Choose Aria, or lose them both. Tears streamed down her face. She looked up, Damon bleeding, Kian burning. Both of them fighting for her, both cursed by her existence. No, she cried. I won't choose. Not this time. She pressed her hand against her mark. The silver light flared so bright it blinded them all. If the mark can't belong to one, then it will belong to none. The power surged through her, ripping through the sky. The black moon cracked, spilling beams of light. The storm of magic swallowed the brothers whole, pulling them toward her. Kian screamed her name. Damon reached for her hand. Their marks burned into hers, red, gold, and silver colliding. The explosion that followed split the heavens. Every wolf howled in pain as the curse shattered. The marks disappeared from their skin, one by one. The bond to the moon was gone. When the light faded, Aria was alone. The battlefield was empty, silent. The moon had turned pure white again, gentle and distant. She fell to her knees, exhausted. It's over, she whispered, though her voice trembled. Please let it be over. A faint groan reached her ears. Her heart leaped. Damon. He lay a few feet away, barely breathing but alive. She crawled to him, clutching his hand. You're still here, she said, sobbing. He smiled weakly. You did it. You freed them all. Where's Kian? She asked softly, looking around the empty field. There was no answer, just the wind whispering through the ashes. Only a single golden feather remained where he had stood. Damon reached up, brushing a tear from her cheek. Maybe he finally found peace. Aria shook her head, clutching the feather to her chest. No, he's still out there. I can feel it. The wind shifted and for a second she thought she heard Kian's voice, soft, distant, carried by the moonlight. You can't destroy what was born of love, Aria. You can only delay it. The sound faded, and she was left staring at the horizon, where dawn finally broke. The first sunlight touched the ruins, painting them gold. For the first time in centuries, the world was free of the moon's curse. But freedom came with a cost. Aria leaned her head against Damon's shoulder. He was weak but smiling, his arm around her. What now? He asked quietly. Now. She looked at the rising sun. Now we live. For them. For us. He chuckled softly. You sound like a queen. Maybe I am, she said. A queen without a crown, but with a story. The wolves that survived began to gather in the valley below. They looked up at her, at the woman who broke the curse. The moonlight still shimmered faintly on her skin, even under the sun. They knelt one by one, heads bowed. The mark was gone, but the legend had begun. Aria of the moon, one of them whispered. The last marked. She smiled faintly, eyes wet with tears. No, she said softly. Not the last. Just the first to choose differently. As she and Damon walked away from the ruins, the camera of fate pulled back, showing the valley healing, the sun rising, and the black moon fading into blue. Far in the distance, unseen by anyone, a golden light flickered in the shadows. Heartbeat. Promise. Kian's voice whispered once more. Until the next moon. The wind carried his words across the world as the screen of destiny faded to black. The war was over. But love never dies.